So who's excited? I sure am. It is finally time for the big reveal. And really, it's an honor to be here today, to be part of a project that represents such an important moment for Midtown, for Atlanta. So thank you, Annie, and thank you to the community members, and thank you to Midtown Alliance. What you just heard and saw reflects something powerful, a shared belief that this place can become part of the essential identity of Midtown. Because in cities today, the public realm, the places where we come together to be well, to connect, to express our creativity and cultural identity are more important than ever. So today, I'm incredibly excited to be sharing the vision for 98 14th Street publicly for the very first time. You get to see it first. What you're about to see is a cultural venue without walls, a place unlike any other. That's your sneak peek. Now, we'll come back to that. Where nature, in its most sublime and verdant sense, and culture come together to create something entirely new for Atlanta. As a living gallery, where world-class art is available to all every day. An open-air theater, where music and the performing arts connect with our deepest emotions. And where stories and spoken word become a living archive of Atlanta's voices. Where we come together to connect, set within an environment that offers comfort, shade, and beauty, and where the vibrancy and energy that define this extraordinary community is only amplified. So before we dive in, I'd like to acknowledge the incredible team who supported this effort. Many of them are here today. I can't see any of you, but feel free to stand up, raise your hand. My colleagues and landscape architects from field operations, Justin Jackson, Aaron Stone, and Yihua Fan. Jenny Lynn Rudder, representing our engineering team from Gresham Smith here in Atlanta. From Midtown, historian and cultural advisor, Dr. Karshik Sims Alvarado. Our world-class architect, Tom Pfeiffer. Curator, David Vandelier from DVDL. Water feature designer Jim Garland from Fluidity, as well as other national experts in park operations and implementation. Together, this is a team with a remarkable range of expertise, assembled to bring together the disciplines needed to deliver something truly exceptional for this city. So, over the past few months, I've learned just how special Midtown really is. Look at where we are, here at the Fox Theater. From where I'm standing, it's really extraordinary. And nearby, the High Museum of Art, MODA, the Center for Puppetry Arts, the Atlanta Symphony, just a few of the many cultural institutions that define this district. And Mary Pat already said it today. Once, Midtown is the cultural heart of Atlanta. And as many of you already know, it is one of the most concentrated centers of arts and culture anywhere in the Southeast. And when you zoom in, you can begin to see our site's connective potential, linking these institutions, extending the art walk already underway, and helping to catalyze a network of cultural connections across Midtown. But today, there is a disconnect. Too often, that energy stays inside buildings and galleries. You don't always feel it in the public realm, on the street, in the everyday experience of the city. But with this project, we've designed the landscape itself to perform, socially, culturally, and ecologically, as a true civic space for Atlanta. You just saw some images of the site that is being cleared and underway, but I'm curious if any of you actually went onto the site before that work started. If you had, you know something's really remarkable about it. In the middle of Atlanta, surrounded by towers, you find yourself in the midst of an immersive meadow and granite outcrops. It can almost feel otherworldly. You can see my colleague Yihua in the top right of the image. Pretty crazy. And it sits at one of the most important intersections in Midtown, between 14th, 15th, West Peachtree. This is the heart of everything. But it's not without its challenges. The site itself is just over 4 acres, but the opportunity is so much larger, because to succeed, this place can't operate like a single parcel. It has to connect to Peachtree, to 15th Street, to transit, and to the broader network of Midtown. And Midtown Alliance has pushed the entire team to really think beyond the boundaries, working with adjacent property owners to extend this vision across the entire superblock. Surrounded by some of the city's most iconic towers, with MARTA steps away, and also underfoot, it has incredible visibility, access, and scale. But what makes it powerful also makes it very complex. Environmentally, these buildings impact how the site performs, how the sun moves around it, where shade falls, where the wind intensifies, and where sound settles. And we've used that to shape where energy belongs and where calm belongs. These buildings also need to be served. Parking needs to be accessed. And at the same time, people need to feel welcome. Today, some of the existing curb cuts are formidable. And then there are the edges, some of the most complex we've encountered on a project, from formal streets to opportunistic cowpaths, a ravine, and disconnected podiums. The edges compose a series of interstitial spaces that don't align and don't yet connect. And then there's topography. You can begin to see it here. It's wild. There's a dramatic grade change, nearly 70 feet across the site, a condition that could divide it, but for us became one of its greatest assets. Instead of flattening the site, we shaped it. And this is where the landscape begins to perform. Using a sculptural approach, a new muscular topography creates a continuous connective surface where landscape, architecture, and experience come together as one terrain, and stitches the edges together, connecting seamlessly to the surrounding streets and transforming complexity into coherence. And from that, a new kind of place begins to emerge, a landscape that doesn't just sit within the city, but actively shapes how the city is experienced, where the ground itself becomes the stage and the connective tissue that brings everything together. And as that ground lifts, folds, and opens, it creates a series of spaces that are both intimate and collective, everyday and extraordinary. So this is the future of 98 14th Street. At its core, the design is organized by 3 simple elements. First, a central performance space. This is the heart of the project. Set at the lowest point of the site, the landscape itself helps contain, buffer, and shape sound, creating a natural setting that is acoustically tuned for gathering, performance, and shared experience. Second, the meandering art walk that wraps around it. As it moves through the site, it gently extends the path, allowing for universal access with slopes under 5%, while creating a continuous sequence of art, water and discovery. And third, a series of botanical balconies which leverage the site's inherent verticality. They overlook the performance space, but they're not just for viewing. They're stages in their own right, platforms for storytelling, for art, and for the everyday theater and spectacle of Midtown's social life. And they anchor a series of places filled with amenities for daily living. Together, these elements create a layered civic landscape where movement, performance, and the experience are fully integrated. And that's what makes this a cultural venue without walls. Not a single stage, but an entire landscape designed to perform. So flying into the site, we land along the Art Walk at 14th Street. To one side, the arrival balcony, to the other, a canvas for art. This could be a mural like Jasmine Nicole Williams on the Strip, which is already installed in Midtown, or perhaps a kinetic installation responding to wind and environmental phenomenon similar to the work of Ned Kahn, or even a digital facade shifting between art and information, letting you know what's happening here across Midtown. And from here, at this moment, you catch your first glimpse into the site of the pavilion at the center of it all. This is the heart of the park, a space that transforms throughout the day, from lunchtime gatherings to celebratory watch parties, movie nights, or live music, where not only the audience, but also the pavilion might come alive with projection. Here and throughout the park, we imagine light, projection, and sound to create an evening atmosphere that feels alive, immersive, and welcoming. We've studied how this space performs, and it flexes for structured events to informal gatherings in a relaxed setting, intentionally scaled to complement Midtown's existing venues, offering something completely different and much more flexible. But just as important, it works beautifully for everyday use, picnicking, lounging, meeting up with friends. This is a place designed for comfort and to flex. Now, rotating around the space behind the lawn terraces in the center of the image, you can see an area with movable tables for casual dining, and then a takeout window, an entrance to public restrooms, something new for the Midtown Improvement District, and above all, these balconies, incredible perches to take in the scene, places to see and be seen, but also places to perform. Places for works that capture and share the stories and lived experiences of Atlanta's communities. And at the center, the Magnolia Pavilion designed by Tom Pfeiffer, inspired by the Southern Magnolia with vaulting forms that touch the ground lightly on pinpoints, as Tom says. There's a real sense of poetry in how it's experienced. From above, looking down from surrounding towers, or from below, within the space itself. We love how these vaulted shapes resonate with the shape of the balconies and frame views to the surrounding landscape and city. And even when nothing is scheduled, it becomes an outdoor room, a place for projection, atmosphere, light that might change with the seasons and keep people coming back again and again and again. Who wants to check that out when it's constructed? Now, moving back out along the Arts Walk, You're constantly in dialogue with the performance space, catching glimpses in and out with water, shade, places to sit along the way. This is where art is discovered, not placed, but integrated, emerging from the landscape itself, and it's designed to evolve through a layered strategy of permanent works, temporary installations, and everyday moments. Set within a rich, ecologically diverse setting, a new forest in the city, composed of hundreds of new trees, native and climate-adapted species that offer cooling, shade, and habitat, and systems of swales and rain gardens that manage water, support biodiversity, and enhance the site's environmental performance. So further along the art walk, the space becomes more civic. A new community building with a cafe that opens fully to the park will be a magnet for people, supporting the life of the park in all types of weather. It brings together 4 key elements: flexible indoor space for meetings, classes, events, a second location for public restrooms within the park, new offices that will serve as a permanent home for Midtown Alliance, and a food and beverage hub that activates the park throughout the day. And we think this balcony overlooking the landscape will become one of the best places in the city to sit, gather, connect, have brunch on a Saturday or a Sunday morning. The building's location, adjacent to Promenade West and the LAZ parking structure, offers some real strategic advantages. Perhaps you could see them there. That adjacency allows us to integrate with existing service and loading and parking infrastructure so we don't have to build new, keeping service underground and allowing the experience above to be catered for people. And above all, the Flex Lawn, a space for fitness, for events, or simply throwing a frisbee. This is part of daily life. And art belongs here too, not just as sculptural objects, but integrated into the experience, where an artist's reimagining of seating or lighting and the most familiar park elements can create moments of surprise and delight. The overall approach to art in this site balances permanent anchor pieces with the pulse of temporary installations and the rhythm of everyday moments that evolve over time. The social gardens, just beyond the Flex Lawn, are one of these places, more intimate, a bit more whimsical, where art and landscape come together in unexpected ways. Perhaps with something like the modified social benches by Jeppy Hine. And at night, the space transforms into something quieter, more atmospheric, a place with a little bit of a sense of magic and maybe romance too. From here, the site connects outward to Peachtree through a promenade that taps into the energy of Colony Square, taking advantage of this forgotten space between 1180 Peachtree and Promenade Central, benefiting people at all times of day. Now moving to the opposite side of the park, along 15th Street, transforming what is today an informal, uncomfortable path, to say the least, into a welcoming and vital connection, the MARTA connector. Because at every edge, this park is designed to engage you, never turning its back, always inviting you in. So we've just walked our way around this site plan from number 1 to number 9. There are some big moves here that extend beyond the site itself. We're continuing to work with adjacent property owners to unlock connections that aren't possible today, including opportunities like the removal of the water wall at One Atlantic Center and the potential to cover and tunnel the driveway to parking at 1180 Peachtree, both of which are reflected in this broader vision. These moves are ambitious and still evolving, but they have the potential to be truly transformative. And across all these spaces, you begin to understand how the project works, not as a single destination, but as a sequence of experiences that connect into the life of the city. And the experiences change at different times of day and in different seasons. On a weekday afternoon, people spill out of offices for lunch, conversation, informal meetings, art encounters along the art walk. In the evening, the energy shifts. There's dining, music, performance. The next morning, it's yoga on the lawn, coffee, a farmer's market, and pop-up performances. And in winter, lights, market, gathering around warmth, a completely different atmosphere, but just as vibrant. So this project is so much more than any one of these single spaces. It's about social infrastructure, identity, and it's about continuing the momentum that Annie just described, where strategic investment creates lasting value for Midtown, for Atlanta, for the region. This is a place that supports daily life while also positioning Atlanta on a global stage. And ultimately, this is what we mean by a cultural venue without walls. Not a single stage, not a sculpture park, but an entire landscape designed to perform. A place for people every day, at all times of day, and in every season.